Okay, I see some people are just coming in. Thank you, Karen, Jesse, Katie, and Clay for coming in. What we're going to cover in a few minutes, and I'll start sharing a screen in a few minutes, is basics of secretary for the club secretary. We'll talk about the duties of the secretary. We'll talk about how to navigate Club Runner, which is the key to everything with respect to reporting and updating membership, that sort of thing. Before we get started, there's just a few of us. I wonder if we could just briefly introduce ourselves. And if some of you have your club name on your picture, but if we could also learn whether or not you are coming in as the new club secretary for 25-26, if you have been a past secretary, and what your role is right now. So, Clay, you want to start?
Yeah, my name is Clay Pang, and I am not the club secretary. I'm the incoming PE. This is my second time around. I'm joining today because I'm kind of getting prepared for my new incoming board, and I just want to be sure that I have it for information to communicate with my incoming secretary, who is the last term secretary. So she's continuing on. So
Good. That will be really helpful to you.
yeah,
Um,
thank you.
thanks. Karen, you want to go next?
I, I also am not the incoming secretary. I'm the incoming PE. We haven't had a secretary in our club for several years, and so I want to try and change that and find out more about the position.
Great. Jesse. Or,
Aloha. Actually, I'm Ronnie, but for some reason it's coming up as Jesse today. I'm actually the PE for Rotary Club of Eco Club of Maui. And I have been the secretary as well. So it's just good to know all your different foundations of Rotary.
great. Thank you. Dennis, welcome. You're muted. Would you like to introduce yourself with your club and whether or not you're an incoming secretary?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
I'm sitting in my truck. I just came from an event, so I'm going to be driving back. No, I'm the PE, and we have a new secretary coming in. She was going to try to get on the meeting today, but if she's not, I just wanted to make sure I'm here to see what's going on and appreciate you doing this. And all good. Thank you.
Great. Well, you can tell her and all of the PEs that are here that Naomi, who will introduce herself in just a second, is recording this, and it'll be based on a PowerPoint. So the PowerPoint will be available, the recording will be available for anybody who couldn't make it and would like to have this kind of information. Katie.
Yes, I am the president of Rotary of Lahaina Sunset, and I invited a new member over to dinner tonight who I hope will be a secretary. So I wanted to make sure I was being accurate.
Good luck with that. I hope that works out. Um,
Thank you.
Naomi, I think you're well known to everybody, but just in case.
Well, I've been secretary for many times, and I'm the backup person for whatever needs to be done. So Naomi Masuno, West Honolulu.
And Naomi, past district governor, chief operating officer, bearer of all knowledge of Rotary. So I'll be turning to Naomi during the course of the session today to expand on some of these areas that she's had experience with. So let me share my screen.
Huh?
Okay, can everyone see the screen? Yes. Okay, great. If you want to self-mute yourself, that would be helpful now. And then I am going to, during the course of the presentation, be asking for comments, questions, that sort of thing, but we can mute and unmute ourselves as we go. We are going to be talking about logistics of getting around Club Runner and the basic secretary duties. The important role in helping the club run smoothly, especially with respect to communications and updating membership information. So the duties, briefly, are maintaining records and reporting. Whenever there's a new member, a terminating member, any kind of membership information, you will be updating your club website. Now, if your club website is already using Club Runner, you're golden because then it's already in the district website. If your club website does not use Club Runner, you will need to go to Club Runner to update membership information. We'll be going through the ways to do that in the course of this presentation. Calendar of club and district activities. We're going to show a calendar in a moment of the district activities. Helpful for secretaries to meet with their presidents and with their boards as quickly as possible to kind of fill in club known activities into a club calendar, so that there's plenty of opportunity to give notice to the members so that we know how the club calendar interfaces with the district calendar. So we'll be talking about that. Meeting notices and agendas, and then minutes. Minutes are usually just regular club members, club meeting minutes or board minutes, but that'll be at the discretion of the president when the president would like the secretary to take minutes. Certainly the board members or the board meetings and the annual meetings. Club records retained for 5 years. And then the reporting requirements are important. These are dates that are pretty much non-flexible. For membership changes within 2 weeks, officers and chairs by January 31. This is based on having the annual meeting that elects the new president and officers by December 31 of the prior year. And then club information to keep members informed on any changes. Tasks. This looks like a lot of tasks, but actually it's not that many. Many of these things are just one-off. Once you've done them, you don't have to do them again. But it's helpful just to have a list in one place. I like bullet points, so here we go. We'll talk a little bit about the Learning Center. That's going to be helpful for secretaries to go to on their own for learning about different aspects. Important to meet with the outgoing secretary, assuming there's a change, and receive the club records. Meet with the incoming officers of board to plan the year. We talked about having the calendars interface with the district calendar. Create a My Rotary account if you don't have one. This gets to the RI website. So in addition to the District 5000 website, the secretary will need to have a My Rotary account to get into the RI website for certain functions. Update the club records, make sure the treasurer has the invoices, take the minutes, update. You see a lot of update here, and that's a very important function of the secretary is to keep all the records and membership information updated as it happens. Manage the correspondence. Sending notices and invitations is also important. If you want people to come to your meetings, if you have speakers, you want to advise your members of who's coming up. Keeping promotional items together, we'll talk about that. Monthly attendance reports, if applicable. Historical records, annual report. Assist as needed. And then at the end of the term, hand over the club records, unless, of course, you're continuing. I know a lot of clubs have a secretary that rolls over from year to year, and so that's helpful. But in the event that you have new secretaries, it's going to be important for that new secretary to meet with the prior secretary. Here is the district calendar for now. You can see a lot of these areas. This is also on the website. A lot of these areas are highlighted in yellow. These are important deadlines. These should certainly be integrated into any kind of club calendar. District grant applications have firm deadlines. Global Grant Project Fair is going to be a one-day event, so you'll want to make sure that that's published to the members. Final grant reports being due, so forth and so on. So it's good for the secretary to keep this in mind whenever planning the club calendar. Naomi, do you have anything more to add about calendars?
Uh, just that it's really important to do that calendar in advance, because when you want people to attend things, you need to give them the notice in advance. So planning out the calendar for the whole year is a good thing, because then you can schedule out your projects and all of the other things that we have for the district. So get it helps everybody be on the same page on what needs to get done.
Thank you. Okay, so club meetings, Rotary requirements, the board can change a regular meeting. The board can cancel a meeting for basically any reason, up to 4 regular meetings a year for any causes not already listed. So there's a lot of opportunity and flexibility in when the regular meetings are held, but may not cancel more than 3 consecutive meetings. This is RI requirement. Another RI requirement, annual meeting by December 31. That's so in order to, for a couple reasons. One is so that new board members are approved and can be slotted in by their PEs for updating requirements. Who the new president will be recorded in the updating by January 31. So that's why it's important to have your meeting by December 31. And then the annual meeting within 60 days after all board meetings, written minutes should be available to all members. Okay, here's our 2 main websites that every secretary should be familiar with. And there's a lot of opportunity to play in these websites. Sometimes I found, honestly, it's not that easy to find something the first time. So, but if you play around with it, there's so much information in either the district website, rotaryd5000.org, or the RI International website, rotary.org. And a lot of what the secretary's information gathering will happen by playing around with the website. We'll go through several of the most important ones in the course of the presentation, but it's not all going to be intuitive. So it's important for the secretary to play around with it. So the District 5000 uses Club Runner. You don't need to use Club Runner, but if you don't use Club Runner, then you do need to go to the District Club Runner website in order to update things like member information. If your club does use Club Runner for website, then it automatically will go into the district website. So that saves a step. Okay, this is really helpful, the Club Runner mobile app. I wasn't aware of this at first, but it's very useful. Another really useful app that's not listed here, but I've found helpful is the Rotary Club Locator app. If you go to the App Store and just go Rotary Club Locator, it's a really fast way to find out where other clubs are and when they're meeting and basic information without having to navigate all the different steps within the website. So 2 important apps for basically all members, but especially for secretaries and other board members. What you can find on the district website. This is, again, where I say you really need to play around. There's some of these pieces of information that you can find without logging in as a member, just by going straight to the website, like information on the avenues of service. That is under a tab called What We Do. The district chairs and org chart is who we are, but other information you need to do a member login. So it's important for secretaries to become familiar with the different menu options in the district website in order to be able to get to these pieces of information. It's all there, but it's helpful to just take some time to play around with it. Naomi, do you have anything else to add to navigating the district website in terms of ease of use?
Where we're going to be making some changes to the website, so it would be good to get some feedback on what you'd like to see. So when you say it's hard to find things, what we're thinking of is doing an index. So you can go to the index, and if you wanted to go to avenues of service, you can just click there and go there. So that's something we're working on.
I
So,
love that. That would I support that completely.
but just know that once you get in, you probably are going to spend hours because you find so much good information. And once you go down one rabbit hole, you can find another rabbit hole to go in.
That's absolutely true. I found that to be true. Um, so the district website, rotaryd5000.org, is the place to basically update all your member information. And that's pretty straightforward. Um, so it is important to have the correct address and email address. We'll get to another place here that where you learn that Rotary International has only the email address that it was used when the member first joined. If the member changes their email address, it needs to be updated at the RI level too. So important to have the correct address and email address of all your members and kept that up to date. So here's a good screenshot of the District 5000 website and how to get to adding a member, which will be one of the main tasks of a secretary. So first, the member login, where the first blue arrow is. Some of the things, as you can see, don't require a member login, like club resources, news and updates. But for secretaries' purposes and making sure that your membership is updated, go to member login, then for clubs. And then under for clubs, there's a lot of other menu items that will be accessible to update your club executives, to integrate, to change the status, to do all kinds of editing to your member list. So membership types. RI says only provides for two, active and honorary, and only active members can hold office and vote, but clubs can have other kinds of membership. For example, associate memberships, corporate memberships, family memberships. I'm going to take a little break here and ask if any of your clubs have any other kind of membership types besides active and honorary. Anybody? No. My
We have
club.
a married couple. We have married couples get a discount.
Okay. We used to. Anybody else?
We have a business membership where a business can have several members, but it hasn't been used in many years.
That would be similar to what we're talking about here on the screen with the membership is maybe in an individual's name, but the corporation holds it so that they can switch off individuals to be the person who is on the roster. Is that how that works? Or would work if you used it?
Yes. Can you speak a little more about an associate membership? Like who would be eligible for something like that?
My club, Rotary Club of Honolulu, for in my knowledge, has not had that kind of membership types. Naomi, are you aware of any other club who has actually used this?
Yeah, sometimes you don't call it an associate. It's somebody who wants to come to the meetings but is still thinking about it, or maybe they don't really want to join because they want a um flexible schedule. So they'll come just when they can, and they want to help with projects maybe, or help with donating. So these are not active members. So
We call that Friends of Rotary,
yep, you
and we
could
do
call.
have some of those.
Yep, Friends of Rotary. You could have a young professional or young member category where their dues are less if they're up to 30 or 35 years old. One of our clubs has a Zoom membership. So as long as they don't come to the meetings, they're just on Zoom, they pay a reduced membership dues because their venue has extra expenses, and so people who come to the meetings have to pay a little bit more. So you can be creative.
Hey, this is Dennis. Let me ask you a quick question along that line. So we have three teachers at Radford High School who run our Interact program, and they are incredibly dedicated. They bring the kids to the meetings. They come to all of the service projects with their kids. They do all of the stuff that they do at school for Interact, and they're not members. And I really want to make them members, but they can't afford $300 a year, and I wouldn't want to ask them to do that. So um, I brought it up to the board the other day just to think about it, but we got to figure out a way, to whether they pay a reduced fee or we give them an honorary. But I mean, they're really promoting the future Rotarians of our next generation. So, any thoughts on that, Naomi, on how we could do that?
Honorary would be good because they're not paying dues, and the Rotary, you're not charged for their dues.
Okay. Or maybe just to reduce dues, like maybe $100 a month, $100 a year. I don't know. We got to look at that, but
Well, once you put them in as active, you're going to be charged from the district and the Rotary International. So,
right,
if you're only collecting 100 and you've got to pay 180 for annual dues for the two sides, then the club is subsidizing them.
exactly. Yeah, we'll look at honorary. I like that. Thank you.
Or sort of going along the same lines, if you just charge them for what the clubs have to pay for them and no more, then
Yeah,
the club is not subsidizing. They're paying far reduced dues than they otherwise would.
right. Yeah, pay 180 overhead cost to RI and district and that stuff, and just you don't make any. The club doesn't make anything, but you don't care anyway. And that's a good point too.
Yeah,
Thank
just
you.
cover your costs.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks.
Sure. So again, that
Plus, they might get to speak to if they're paying, if they're honorary, they don't get to vote or anything. Is that correct?
that's correct. Honorary
Thank you.
category does not get to vote or hold office.
Okay, thanks, guys.
So as noted here, clubs and districts have a lot of flexibility to set their own policies, as long as they're not in violation of the RI bylaws and Constitution. So good idea for secretaries to kind of familiarize themselves with that. And along those lines, sometimes a lot of years go by between when clubs revise their bylaws. And it's a good idea for secretaries and actually for the president and the entire board to occasionally take a look at the bylaws and see if the bylaws actually reflect what you're doing. And if there are changes such as allowing a different kind of membership that are not currently in the bylaws, might want to consider whether or not the bylaws could be amended to provide for that, or at least reflect the way things are done and not in violation of the way things are done. Okay, membership rosters. This is really important. This is probably the most important deadlines that's for secretaries to have, is that RI prepares those invoices where they will charge based on the membership as of July 1 and January 1. And so if you add somebody or you terminate somebody July 2, you're still paying for them for that whole 6-month period. So that is really the cutoff. So if you're thinking about terminating a member, keep in mind it's best to do it probably by June 15th and December 15th of every year. That way you don't have to worry about being charged for somebody who is not going to be a member, and you know the fact that they're not going to be a member. So those are, star those dates if you're a secretary. If adding Rotarian,
Nancy, I have a question, Nancy.
sure.
If our roster is on the club runner
Mhm.
and it's kept up to date, do we need to prepare a new roster and send it to someone, or
No,
is having it updated on club runner enough?
That's enough. And there's a synchronization too. Um,
Okay.
so, so periodically the secretary, and I think there's a screenshot of this coming up, that there's a RI synchronization button so that RI should update anyway, but just to
Okay.
be sure, you can RI synchronization and you don't have to then do it separately. The only time you have to do anything separately with RI, as long as you're keeping your district membership roster up to date, is if emails change, because
Okay.
the RI uses the old email. And so you'll have to update that member's email at the Rotary International level, but otherwise everything can sync as long as you use Club Runner.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so I think we have a screenshot coming up about this if you're adding a Rotarian. Oh, here's the synchronization right here. Okay, so right here, you can see on the screen, it says, welcome, Naomi. That's because she has logged in as member login in order to do this screenshot. So once you get to the member login at the very top of the District 5000 website page, if you go to for clubs, just one of those buttons is RI member synchronization that we were just speaking about. So as it says, it compares our Club Runner roster with the RI roster. Okay, so to update member information, a lot of club members don't realize they can edit their own information. They just want the secretary to do it. And the secretary can do it, or the administrator, if you have an administrator. But good idea to just let members know that they have a lot of power to edit their own profile. It'll kind of save a little admin for the secretaries. So if we're in for members, first of all, you get to do the member login before you can get to for members, and then for members, and then edit my profile. You can change all kinds of information like your address, change your picture, change your email, change your password. So this is something that the secretaries usually do, but members can do for themselves. But it has to do with member login and then member area. Okay, so define club executives. This is something that is important so that the district knows exactly who's doing what. And this is something that after the new officers have been elected in the December 31 meeting, the secretary can go again into the member area for clubs, define club executives, and you can edit the positions and save it. It has all the positions. This is just a screenshot showing president, but all the committee chairs, if you have a foundation representative, every kind of position that you have input for your club can carry over for the next year by highlighting the carry over next year button, and then you just have to fill in the names. So we were really encouraging a lot of the PEs to work with their current secretary to add these new positions, so that we know so that the district knows exactly who's in the positions. And that this is important when it comes to communicating to just secretaries or just treasurers or just PEs. Defining club executives is the way that we know how to do that. Okay, new officers elected by December 31, nominations 30 days before. This should be in your bylaws. This again is important for inputting the names so that RI has that information, so that the district has that information. Okay, the attendance policy. RI used to require attendance reporting. You don't, RI no longer requires reporting attendance, but clubs still need to meet at least 2 times a month. But the interesting thing is that you don't have to actually have a meeting in a restaurant or at a club location in order for it to count as a meeting. You can gather in person, online. You can have service projects. Naomi, again, if you want to weigh in on different ways that people can meet the twice per month meeting requirement.
Mhm. So the format could be committee meetings. So everybody gets into their committee and they have a meeting. Or it could be a service project. It could be just a talk story. The format can be very flexible, but the rule is you need to meet twice a month. It doesn't have to be a regular formatted meeting.
Naomi, question.
Mhm.
What if we put it out, a notice out that we're gonna try to have a joint meeting with another, Hui club or whatever. Would that constitute a legitimate meeting?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
A lot of flexibility here. This is something that I wasn't aware of at first. I thought, you got to meet at your club, location twice a month. But there's the flexibility. The point is that you can meet somehow, somewhere, at least twice a month. We just did a survey in our club, in the Rotary Club of Honolulu, and asked people how often they wanted to have lunch and how often they wanted to have pauhanas, how often they wanted to have service projects, how often they wanted to have Paul Harris days. So it's helpful, I think, if you're not sure what's the best way to get your members together. If you just do a short survey and see what they say. It could be that just because of, say, work requirements, people can't always make a lunch meeting, but they're happy, to do more pauhanas, and that's another way of meeting the requirement for the meetings that accommodates your members' needs. Communication, lots of ways. This is going to be kind of club specific. Larger clubs may have more of these formats than smaller clubs. Bulletins, email, text. We use event bulletins. We use newsletters, emails for things in between. I'd like to hear from you folks as to any other kinds of communication or which form of communication you have found your club has been most successful in using. Anybody?
Nancy, this is Clay. We have a weekly newsletter that goes out to all of the members, and it provides them with current events and what is in the future.
How often,
And
how far in advance do you give notice of events, Clay, in your club?
it depends on how much advance notification we have. So, but we're already talking about district conferences, international conventions, the whole nine yards. So, it provides as much information that is made available, and it does go out every week. It,
That's
it
great.
gives a bio of our guest, who our guest speaker is going to be. It gives a link that to put in your RSVP for our lunch meetings. It does all of it, and it's very effective, I think.
So you found that your members do read their emails?
Yes, they definitely read the newsletters.
Okay.
Naomi, wouldn't you agree?
Yes, most of them do.
Yeah.
I think that's why we try to also, nudge them a little with a couple of different formats, because some people will say, I get too many emails. I don't want to read my email.
Yeah.
But then we remind them it was in the newsletter. So that's helpful. Karen, do you have a particular way that your club communicates?
We use text and email.
Uh-huh. And your club is smaller, so that probably works just fine.
Yep. Most of us associate with each other regularly outside of the club anyway, so it's a pretty tight group.
That's an easier, a more frequent way of communicating. Dennis, how does your club communicate effectively, would you say?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, first of all, email, number one, that gets blown out every week to everybody with updates. That's probably the most effective way
Hmm.
the most consistent way. There's phone calls and other things, but I think email is the most consistent.
Hmm. Katie, how does your club handle this? We'll check with Katie a little later. Yeah, it's going to be, as I said, club specific.
Sorry,
And
Nancy.
well, that's okay.
I'm on my phone and it keeps going dark, and then I can't find the unmute button.
Oh, it's
Um,
okay.
we also put something out weekly.
Mhm.
We've had, just because of being in Lahaina, we've had a lot of projects. So
Yeah.
we put it out to both the members, and then we each invite friends if they would like to, whether it's a social that week or whether it's a project, join us.
I assume with Malama Maui coming up at the end of this month, you've had a lot more communication perhaps than might be usual.
We definitely have, and we also have our first fundraiser since the fire on May 6th. So things are busy.
Make sure that the district is real aware of your fundraiser. So there's and put it in the events calendar for the district, right, Naomi? If it's not already.
Yes, yes, right.
Will
Okay,
do. Thank you.
thanks everybody. Um, so the email option is really useful. And again, this is why it's important to know who's who, and so you know where emails can go as a burst. So if you go into the member area and communications and email services, this one's a pretty straightforward path. Um, don't worry about this template stuff. Um, the main thing is that you can compose your message. You can select the recipients. This shows district executives, current year, next year, but there's a whole much longer list of this. So you can do just secretaries, for example, or just committee chairs. And then you can compose your message. I like to send it to myself first, so I know what it looks like and make sure that it's going to be received in the way I intended it to go. And then you can schedule it or send it right away. So really useful for district-wide communications, especially if you want to try to reach, if you've got a function coming up and you just want to notify the presidents, say, this is one way for the secretary to do that. The RI website. Okay, this is my Rotary. This is another, besides the district website, this has got a wealth of information. You do need to have an account for this. The username or login password might be different from the district. In fact, the username for the RI website for my Rotary is the email address. So that's probably going to be different than whatever the username is for the district. Okay, so this is where it's important for the secretaries and actually the treasurers to work together. This is club resources for dues, invoice, or member data. Remember, one of those important tasks of the secretary is to make sure that the treasurer gets the invoices twice a year. This is one way to find them. My Rotary and club resources. And then that takes you right over to club finances and a couple of different choices. So this is pretty straightforward and easy to get to. Important for keeping invoices paid for RI. This is a learning center opportunity, and I encourage all of you who are PEs to advise your secretaries, especially new ones, of this opportunity. This is on the RI website. They have learning center modules for all kinds of different executive positions. I went through all of these. There's 10 of them. It didn't take that long. They're pretty short. You can see that most of them are 15 minutes long. It actually took me longer than that because I would go down rabbit holes every time. You'd get into something and it gives you links to go somewhere else and somewhere else and somewhere else. So it did take me longer, but I didn't do it all in one day. And I found it very, very useful. And you can go there anytime. So I would highly recommend that club secretaries be aware of the Learning Center and just go in and look at uh, the managing club business, if that's the question. You don't have to, you can go in just in one module. You don't have to complete one before you get to the next one. Minutes. This is really at the discretion of the president. Board meetings obviously are important. Sometimes committee meetings, there's no minutes taken, but again, this will be a coordination between the secretary and the president. Other duties, maintaining the club records, we've talked about. Ordering supplies. All the supplies, if you're not already aware, go through Russell Hampton. And boy, do they have a lot of Rotary swag on the Russell Hampton website. I just went there today, and besides the usual pins and badges and shirts, you can get, gift items, and you can get aprons, and you can get hats, and you can get any number of Rotary swag ideas from that. So it's pretty useful. And assisting with the DG's visit. That's every board member's obligation, I think. Now, the Rotary Member Leads program is something that I don't think our club has honestly used. It's a resource through RI, and I'm going to ask Naomi to talk a little bit about how this works and how clubs might use it.
Okay. So when people are interested in Rotary and they want to get information or join a club, they would go to Rotary International. There's a button on the homepage that says Get Involved. When they click it, they will say what they're interested in, what area, what time of day, and then it used to go to the district, and the district would send that lead to the club. They're making this change so that lead will go straight to the club. So the person needs to know, when you're meeting, what your club is like. And then if they select your club, that's where your secretary or president would get an email that says this person is interested, please contact them. So this leads program is low-hanging fruit. These people are interested in your club. So it's really important to respond and contact that person. So if you have someone who is interested in Rotary and they are looking for a club, you can direct them to the Rotary International website and hit that Get Involved Club button.
Naomi, question: how will the international or district know? Like in downtown, for example, there could be 4 clubs. So are you saying that 4 clubs would get notice that this individual is interested, or is it going to be club specific?
It's going to be club specific. So that person might be interested only in a lunch meeting or only on Monday. So that's where it's really important for the clubs to update their information on when they're meeting and put that into the website.
All right, thank you.
So it's especially useful, it seems, if the lead comes to your club. Maybe not as much if you're going out there for the whole district, but if some lead comes to your club, it's important to be able to know it and respond to it. If you don't respond to it, then you may have lost a member. So that's the point there. So how to manage membership leads, this goes along with what Naomi was just talking about. There is a path for this. This is something that the secretary may or may not ever use, but it's good to know it's there. And then if you do get a lead through this RI membership leads avenue, then you need to add the member through this. So if this lead turns into a member, then you use this site to add them so that RI knows that it came from the membership leads platform.
And one of the reasons you want to do that is when they get into the leads program, they're already assigned a RI number. And so if you add them on in Club Runner and Rotary International assigns them a different number, then they have 2 numbers. So if it's a lead, please add them through that website link.
Okay, we're winding down here. Now we've got some upcoming Club Runner training. This may be of interest to some of your members or some of your board members. especially, the the IT people. Um, but the May 21st membership management and Rotary International integration especially might be one that's useful to your secretaries. At this point, I really want to thank you for all for hanging in, and I'd like to ask each of you if you have more questions or if you have suggestions for best practices, some things that your club does really well, that we could all benefit from. We just got a couple minutes. Does anybody want to ask a question or make a comment about how their club works? Okay, no questions?
Oh, I would like to add some things. On Club Runner, there's a document storage area. So it would be good to store your entity documents and any minutes and things on the district, on the club's website, because then you have it in one place electronically. And remember that some of the documents need to be kept 5 years, like your grant documents. So it's good to put it on the district, on your website. Also want to remind everybody, please update your information on where you're meeting and when you're meeting, because people who are looking for a club, they'll find you on the locator, but they try and go to your place and you're not meeting. So it doesn't, sit well if that happens. So please update your location, your meetings, and if you're meeting. And also, if you want to get into your website, you need the access level. So make sure you have the access level to make those changes to the website.
And how does one get that access level, Naomi?
You ask your current president to give you the access.
Okay, a lot of you are PEs or current presidents, so your secretary may be asking you for the access. I love the idea of keeping the records electronically, especially if there's turnover. Sometimes you'll have an administrator or a secretary that's been there for several years, and that person knows where everything is in this binder or that folder or something else. And then the new secretary, doesn't have all that institutional knowledge. So I love the idea of keeping the club records together in that way. Thank you, Naomi. Anybody else tips or questions?
Nancy, thanks for a great class. Very helpful.
Well,
Nancy, thank you very much.
Thank you all for coming. I neglected to say that I'm with the Rotary Club of Honolulu. I'll be district secretary in 2025-26, and look forward to working with all of you in the coming year.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
See ya.
I'll close the meeting. Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Hello.